Okay, thank you for this interview. I'd like to explain you a little bit about microalga. Yeah, microalga is a photosynthetic organism. Yeah, it is a non-vascular plant. Yeah, it has chlorophyll A is the main pigment for the photosynthesis, and it is having a simple reproductive structure. Yeah. However, those uh, nodes are not reflect are does not this node does not reflect the fact, yeah, the actual fact, yeah, because actually there are remarkable diversity, yeah, in in the form, in size, and also they live in various habitat and environment, yeah. And luckily, most of microalgae live in tropical countries such as Indonesia. Yeah. So I can say that Indonesia is that mega biodiversity country regarding to the number of microalgae species. Yeah. Why? Because Indonesia has water bodies, yeah, which are ocean, sea, river, lakes, yeah, and so on and so forth. So, and as well as uh, other habitats in our country, such as the land or forest and like field, paddy field, something. Yeah. Okay. Microalgae is uh, with organism. It has chlorophyll A that can be used for photosynthesis, and they have many kind of form. Yeah, the first form is a planktonic form. Yeah, it is the most common microalga that we can find in almost every water bodies. Yeah, in our earth. Yeah, such as sea, ocean, lake, river, whatever. Yeah, and the second form is attached form. Yeah, microalgae can attach on other alga, vascular plant, animals, rock, sand, and sediment. Microalgae that attach on the plant we call epiphyte, and that attach on in the sediment we call epiphytic, and which is in the sand we call epistemic, and which is on the rock we call epiphytic. The other form is association with other organism. Yeah, it can be associated with the animal. With the most common microalgae that associated with animal are zooxanthellae that live in marine water and zoopleuroids that live in fresh water. And they also can associate with a plant, yeah, such as other algae, fungi, and some like birds, fern, and cycad. Yeah. It can be parasitic form or can be commensalism form. Yeah. And currently, we found microalgae live in other live with the bacteria. Yeah. So they live with the bacteria. It has a good symbiotic, yeah, between microalgae and bacteria. Of course, the symbiotic can be mutualism and can be also parasitism. If mutualism, microalgae produce organic compound that is used by the bacteria, and bacteria produce vitamin, phosphorus, and nitrogen. It can be used by microalgae. And the last, the associations microalgae is with the fungi. Yeah, it we call lichen. Yeah, it can find in on the rock or on the other plant. Like if you go to the forest, there are some lichen that's on the trees. Yeah, so this is many kind of microalgae. And the other thing, the other characteristic of microalgae, they live in almost every habitat in our earth. It can be live in a hot spring, yeah. So they live in above 30 degrees Celsius, and the maximum can be 75 degrees Celsius, yeah. And which is very difficult for other organisms that live in very hot condition is 75 degrees Celsius, yeah. And the other habitat, they can live in very extreme cold condition, yeah. They can live in the around 0 degrees Celsius, yeah. In snow in Arctic or alpine region, yeah. And microalgae can also live in the soil, yeah. And usually that microalgae live in soil is mostly resist of desiccation, and they usually not killed when heated over 100 degrees Celsius. Yeah. And of course, the most microalgae is live in the water body. We call phytoplankton. They live suspended in the water, yeah, and carry passively with the flow of the water. Why people is interested in microalgae? Because they have many benefits, yeah, for the environment or for the human, yeah. For the environment, they is part of the ecosystem. We call producers, yeah. In the food pyramid, yeah, the producer will be in the very bottom pyramid, and they eaten by other organism, yeah, in the ecosystem. Without microalgae, the ecosystem cannot live, yeah, because this main food in the ecosystem is microalgae. And the other thing, microalgae can be absorb CO2 because microalgae can do photosynthesis, and by absorb CO2, they can combat the global warming. Actually, the most CO2 is absorbed by this plant, the microalgae, instead of forest, yeah. Because 70% of our Earth consists of water, and most microalgae live in the water. And the other opportunity for the other benefit for the environment, the microalgae can absorb like organic compound or like metal, yeah, reactive metal in the environment. So it can use it to reduce the pollution. And for human being, microalgae can be used as food. Yeah. They can use food, especially food supplement. In an African country, people plant microalgae for combating stunting. Yeah. And also it can be used as a feed. Yeah, it's an animal food. Yeah. So they can usually people use microalgae in the aquaculture. Yeah. The microalgae is eaten by the larvae, yeah, and larvae only eat the microalgae. Without microalgae, larvae cannot live. Yeah. And the other thing, microalgae can be used as a pharmaceutical, cosmetic, and drug. Yeah, can be very prestigious compound. Yeah, the very expensive compound. Yeah, in the market. So people try to isolate the active compound in the microalgae for the pharmaceutical drug cosmetic industry. This is why microalgae is very interesting. Development of microalgae. Yeah. Now people, yeah, because of this benefit, yeah, microalgae interest give interest from the industry. Yeah. People try to use the microalgae, yeah, for the industrial product, yeah, such as like I said before, food, feed, fuel, yeah, even fuel, yeah. And also microalgae is a biofactory, yeah. We can use microalgae, yeah, to produce many kind of compound, yeah. Of course, we have to engineer the microalgae. Yeah, we have to engineer the microalgae, and by engineering the microalgae, we can introduce such interesting gene, yeah, benefit gene, yeah, in the microalgae DNA. And by insert some genes, they can express some characteristic. Yeah, they can be very valuable for the environment, for the industry. And also, microalgae can be very interesting currently because uh, by biorefinery system, we can produce a microalgae biomass for many products, yeah, multiple products, yeah. We can get uh, uh, mineral, protein, antioxidant, oil, carbohydrate, yeah. By using biorefinery system, we can produce like a food, yeah, because medical list of FUFA, MUFA, and we can use also as healthcare. And also microalgae can be used as a biodiesel. Currently, people try to find uh, alternative energy. So microalgae is the start on the fourth generation of bioenergy. So people try to engineer microalgae to be used for biofuel. Another thing, microalgae can be used for animal feed. Yeah. So it is interesting because the increasing of animal feed very very significant, yeah, because they need feed that uh, suitable for the animal production, yeah. So and in the larvae stage, yeah, microalgae is the only source for the feed, yeah, because larva cannot eat the artificial food, yeah, artificial feed, sorry, and microalgae is the only source for the artificial. So why it is the demand of the feed is very high. And the other thing is the development of like a variable compound, other variable compound. Now people try to increase the lifestyle, healthy lifestyle. So by using many compound from the microalgae, people believe that this compound is very good for their health. So and so then the development of this industry is very very good currently. Yeah. So people try to find good compound from the microalgae. Yeah. And the industry and the micro industry in global or in Indonesia now is very fast, yeah. In Indonesia, maybe in like 10 or 20 years ago, almost nothing microalgae industry in Indonesia. Now in around 2000 there are more than 5 microalgae industry in Indonesia. I do believe it's surrounding Indonesia like in Malaysia, in the Philippines, Thailand, yeah, Singapore even, yeah. They try to get up, yeah, set up the microalgae. Of course, like the Europe and Japan, China, Korea, and USA, there are more than we have, yeah. But in global, yeah, in the microalgae industry is getting growing very fast, yeah. Yeah. And it is also supported by the development of modern technologies, yeah, in biotechnology, biological engineering system, and synthetic biology also give the development of micro industry is very fast currently. Yeah. Okay, you.
Okay, good afternoon, students. Welcome back to WAFERS Summer Course 2021, organized by Chemical Engineering Department of Universitas Gadjah Mada. It is such an honor for all of us to welcome you again for our third class.
First of all, let us introduce ourselves to our dear student today. My name is Aletea and my colleague
Yusril Ardinugroho, we will be the master of ceremony that will guide today's event.
In order to maintain the neatness and comfort of this event, we would like to remind all of the students to mute your mic during the event unless permitted by our crew. And we hope you listen to the whole event earnestly.
Universitas Gajah Mada pays close attention to safety in every activity, so it is fitting for us to read the safety procedure in our event today. Currently, we are in our respective rooms. Pay attention to the direction of the nearest door that can be used in an emergency. When doing an evacuation, please remain calm, alert, and follow health protocols.
Before going further to the main event, we would like to read our second day's agenda.
For today's class, we will discuss renewable energy. There are distinguished lectures for this topic that will specifically talk about renewable energy.
There is also ice breaking after the speaker session.
After each discussion, the students can give questions to the speakers through sending a question to the Zoom chat feature or gently raise your hand using Zoom feature, and we will ask you to unmute your microphone and ask your question by yourself.
Now, without further ado, we would like to welcome Mr. Laras Prasakti, STMing, as the moderator who will guide the course of our discussion today.
Before that, we'd like to present a brief people of our moderator today.
Mr. Laras Prasakti finished his undergraduate study in Chemical Engineering Department, Universitas Gajah Mada in 2015. He was then awarded Master's Scholarship from the Ministry of Education and Culture Indonesia in 2017 in Chemical Engineering Department, UGM. He joined Chemical Engineering Department, UGM as a lecturer in 2019. Mr. Laras Prasakti will continue his doctoral study in RWTH, Aachen University, Germany, as he is also awarded with TAAD Doctoral Scholarship. His research interests include hydrothermal liquefaction and also mineral processing. And that's it for the brief. And right now we will welcome Mr. Laras Prasakti. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Yusril and Aletea. Is my voice clear? Yusril? Okay. Thank you very much for your joyful introduction. Okay, everyone, good afternoon. My name is Laras Prasakti, and today I will be your moderator. And before we start our first lecture today, which will be delivered by Dr. Rajiv Harun, I will briefly read the background of our first speaker today. Dr. Rajiv Harun is a senior lecturer at Chemical and Environmental Engineering, University Putra, Malaysia. He received his bachelor degree for chemical engineering at University Technology Malaysia and his PhD for chemical engineering at Monash University. Before devoting his work full-time as a senior lecturer at University Technology Malaysia, Dr. Rajiv Harun has served in many positions, such as postdoctoral fellow at Laboratoire de Biotechnologie de l'Environnement, tutor at Chemical and Environmental Engineering, University Putra, Malaysia, and production engineer at Pan Century Oleochemicals. He also has huge interest in microalgae biomass, renewable energy, and extraction of biomass. To start our discussion today, I will welcome Dr. Rajiv Harun. Dr. Rajiv, are you already here with us?
Yep, I am.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good as well. Okay, Dr. Rajiv, without further ado, if you are all set, I will welcome you and the time is yours.
All right, thank you. I can call you Mr. Laras, right?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope everyone are okay. Stay safe at your place. All right. First of all, I would like to thank you for the organizing committee for inviting me as a speaker for 2 days. I think I have a very good, relationship with University Gajah Mada. I've been there like, more than 6 times. And then unfortunately, this time around, we cannot travel, so we have to meet virtually. So I think we got to do what we have to do, even virtual. So I hope everybody can participate and actively interact between each other. And then I would like to thank you to the Secretariat, Dr. Lysandra, as well as my good friends, Pak Aziz, Dr. Aziz, for inviting me again to this WAFERS. Okay, and then congratulations to all the participants for being selected to this WAFERS 2021. I think it was a bit delay. It was planned back then in 2020, right? But because of this pandemic, today's. All right. So I think I go straight away to my presentations. Okay. Can I?
Yes.
Can I share my slide
Yes,
now?
sure, Dr. Azif.
Okay. All right. Okay. Right. Okay. I think this is the most popular questions nowadays. Did you guys see my slide?
Yeah, we can see Dr.
All
Azif.
right. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. So I think Mr. Laras already give a brief about myself. So today I'm going to, I would say, not give a talk, but it's sort of like sharing with you about my research areas related to microalgae. Before we start the sessions, just now we heard from Dr. Iko. It's about microalgae. I think he has covered some of my presentations. So maybe you can observe there is some repetitions in my presentations today from what Dr. Iko presented just now. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the renewable bioenergy that we can get from microalgae, as well as other high-value products that we can get from microalgae. So I'm going to talk more about applications of the microalgae, more on the downstream processing of microalgae rather than on the upstream processing of microalgae. So just to share again about myself, I'm currently the head of department at Department of Chemicals and Environmental Engineering, UC Putra, Malaysia. You are very much welcome to UPM. Hopefully we can meet everyone in UPM soon. If you got a chance to join any programs, or if you just want to come and visit UPM, you are very welcome to come to UPM. Right, I started in UPM back in 2007 as a tutor, and then after 1 year being employed as a tutor, then I pursued my PhD in Monash University, Melbourne, and then I completed in 2011, and then came back to UPM to serve as a senior lecturer, and then after that I got a scholarship for postdoctoral study. For 2 years in France. And then I came back in 2015, and then since then until now, I'm fully academic staff in UPM, right? So my research area obviously are on microalgae, on the bioprocessing of microalgae, where our group is looking on developing various products that we can get from microalgae. We have been doing on the omega-3 productions. We are doing in terms of the food and feed applications from microalgae, but we also looking on designing a cost-effective photobioreactor to culture the microalgae, because we are coming from engineering side, so our work more on designing and optimizing the process of culturing the microalgae as well, right? So, okay. So that's a little bit about myself. So today I'm going to talk, if you see the title is basically renewable bioenergy. So I'm going to lead the sharing sessions more towards on the biomass rather than the other fields of the energy. Yeah. So I'm going to talk a bit about the biomass generations. And then I'm going to give some review about the potentials of algae biomass as a renewable source to produce energy as well as to produce our bioproducts. And then the potentials of the algae commodities. And then I'm going to have like 2 case studies related to the problem and challenges that related to the microalgae research. And then we end up with conclusions and Q&A sessions. Okay. Right. So just a quick questions you can ask yourself. I know that everybody I'm sure your background is a chemicals engineers, where you are currently doing your postgraduate studies as well as undergraduate studies in chemicals engineering. And then this renewable energy is not a new term to you guys, I'm sure, because we know that nowadays is very, I think since last 10 or 20 years, people have been talking about renewable resources, renewable energy, the biofuel, and all the bio things. So the alternative energy and whatnot. So I'm sure that you have the answer, why do we need renewable energy resources? But I'm just would like to get some response from you guys. Why do we need these renewable energy resources? Can anyone unmute your mic and then give some feedbacks?
Okay, good afternoon, Doc.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Okay, my name is Uche.
Yeah,
I'm a master's degree. I'm a student from Nigeria.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, I feel we need renewable energy because of the rapid decrease in available source of brown energy, which is crude oil and other fossil fuel. So we need renewable energy for that.
Yeah.
And also because it's environmentally safer to use than brown energy.
Yeah, yeah. So if I can reword what you said, there are 2 reasons. One is about the energy security, because we know that the fossil fuels, the resources will be depleted soon, right?
Yes.
And then, the second one is about the environmental issues, right?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Cool. Yeah. Thank you very much. Do we have any response? Everybody is agree about this? Yep. Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah. Any more? No. All right. Okay. So, yeah, I certainly agree that there is 2 reasons on top of that, because we know that there is a rapid populations keep increasing and increasing because of the rapid populations, urbanizations and whatnot. Then we require more energy. So the existing resources that we rely on the fossil fuels, like for example, coal or gas or whatnot, it might be depleted soon, right? So we need that alternative energy. That alternative energy, we call it as a renewable, which is something that continuously producing, okay? All right, so which renewable energy resources do you use in your country? Like in Malaysia, I think there are many Malaysians here as well, right, as a participants. In Malaysia, we have different type of the renewable energy. We have sort of like solar, we have wind, we have hydro, we have biofuels, we are using biodiesel as well. And then we have the solid waste. It's a part of renewable energy as well, right? But I'm sure that in your country as well, we have quite similar if we are coming from Asian regions, right? So But the problem now is when we talk about the resources that we have a lot. We have a lot of potentials. But just to trigger in terms of the questions, why we cannot like replace half of that, for example? Like in Malaysia, although we have like a different type of renewable energy, it can be replaced up to 5 to 7% only. So meaning that 95% we still rely on our conventional fuels, right? So what are the issues normally that are associated to this developing on this renewable energy? Do you have any comments on this? What are the challenges? What are the barriers, or what are the hurdles that we cannot totally replace this renewable energy as our primer energy compared to our conventional energy? Because we have been read through all the articles on the website. They said this renewable energy is a future energy, and then every country has the potential to develop the renewable energy, but the development of this renewable energy is very slow. And there's most of the things that we have, particularly in the Asian region, is still under R&D, right? It's not on the commercial scale, although there is some commercial scale, for example, solar and other resources, but still it's not even half to replace the energy demands that we have in our country. Do you have any comments on this one? Oh yeah, I forgot to read through on the chat box. Yeah, in the chat box, some of you commented on this. Oh, in terms of the cost. All right. Can you be specific which cost that you are referring to? Is it cost in terms of the resources, or the cost of processing the resources, or the cost of producing that energy? All right, I think we're going to discuss later on in the Q&A sessions. Thank you for the feedback. There is many feedback. I cannot read one by one. Maybe later on we can open for discussions on this one. Okay. All right. So I leave it you guys with these questions. Okay. All right. So when we talk about biomass as renewable sources, okay, so there are 4 criteria that we have to fulfill it. Okay. The first one, it should be affordable, right? So one of the criteria why it's a bit challenging for certain countries to implement this renewable energy, because of the cost associated to produce that particular energy is higher compared to the existing energy that we have, right? So for example, if you want to use the biodiesel, you have to pay like triple of the price compared to the normal diesel. So as a consumer, unless you are very, concerned about the environment, then you will opt for biodiesel. But if you're not really concerned about the environment, if you are just a normal person, then you might go to the cheaper resources, right? Rather than you go for the environmental-based products, right? Because we are not, we don't want to spend a lot of time, a lot of our money to get that particular product in a high price, although we have the same products, but it has a very, toxic, or there is any issues in terms of the environmental and whatnot. But our first selections based on the cheaper products, right? So that's the issue. One of the issues why this renewable energy cannot be, commercialized at the larger scale because of the cost. So at the end of the day, when you want to sell your energy, it is expensive, more expensive compared to the conventional one. So you have to make sure that the product that you produce is affordable. Okay. The second one is reliable. Okay, reliables meaning that you can get whenever, whichever that you want. But I'm sure that if you use the biomass as renewable sources, is abundantly being producing. So it's just a matter of that we use the technology to convert it into a product. Okay. The third one, it should be cleaned. For example, if you are using, biodiesel compared to the normal diesel, so your biodiesel should have a low impact to the environment compared to the normal diesel, so that it doesn't harm to the environment. So it should be clean, and then it should be available. So meaning that, for example, if you're looking for the fossil fuels, we know that in the next 50 years, it's going to be depleted soon. So hopefully we can still be there in the next 50 years. But how about our generations? What are the source of energy that they're going to use in the next 50 years if we are still rely on our fossil fuels? So the criteria when we talk about renewable source, it should be that availability, reliability, affordable, as well as the cleanliness. Okay, so that's what we have to remind ourselves, that if you want to embark into these renewable sources, those are the criteria that we have to fulfill, right? So, and then the reasons they are introducing these renewable resources, renewable energy, it's aligned, well aligned with Sustainable Development Goal, SDG. And then I think everybody knows about the 17 initiative of SDG. I'm just would like to get some suggestions to you. When we talk about the renewable energy, which SDG that normally we are highlighting to? Anybody can comment on that? Oh, 7. Yeah, affordables and clean energy. Another SDG that you might think is going to relate to the renewable energy. 13, yes, climate action, because we want to reduce our climate effects. 11, what is 11? I cannot see here. All right, 11 is basically sustainable cities and communities. Yes, correct. 11, what else? Does anyone vote for all of the SDG? Okay, I would vote all the SDG except number 4. Anybody agree with me? Or there is objections from you guys? Okay, let's see. Okay, sorry. Let's see if the SDG number 1, no poverty. Because we know that when we have this development of renewable energy at that particular area, it's obviously going to reduce the poverty level of that particular community. Because of what? When we have that, for example, bioenergy industry, we are open for the employment, right? Job into that particular area. And then with the job employment, we also open for the additional income to the community. Then it's going to affect on the no poverty. So it highlights on the SDG number 1. Okay. So how about SDG number 2, zero hunger? Is there any relationship, zero hunger with renewable energy? Yes, there is, because in order for us to produce a renewable energy, it requires a biomass. Biomass is basically is leftover from the crops, right? So normally, for example, the corn, right? Corn, we cultivate the corn, we plant the corn, and that's the corn we use for the as our food, right? To eat the corn. But how about the biomass, the starchy materials that come out from the corn, it has a possibility to convert it into ethanol. All right. So meaning that when the bioethanol demand is higher, then you have to plant more corns. And then that particular corns, it can use as a food. And then the leftover, it can channel into fuel. All right. So that's have a relationship as well. All right. Good health and well-being, obviously. Okay. If you use, for example, biofuel that have a very low environmental impact, then the society become healthier, right? So something like that. And then gender equality, you give the opportunity for women to work at that particular industry, for example, right? So that's related to the gender equality. So in brief, I would say that all the SDGs that being highlighted here, I would say except number 4, but there is something that we can map the missions of the renewable energy into the SDG. But overall, all the SDGs elements, it can be aligned well with our renewable energy or bioenergy that we have. Okay, all right. So now we are talking about the biomass generations. So for your information, there are 3 generations of the biomass. Okay, so we look at the first generation biomass, where this first generation biomass is basically come from sugarcane, sugar beet, sweet potato, for example, corn, wheat, or barley. So what are the similarities of this biomass? So this first generation biomass is actually produced mainly from agriculture crop, traditionally grown for food and animal purposes. Although this first generation biomass provide or offer a very huge advantage to produce a biofuel, somehow it has disadvantages. Okay, because when you use this first generation biomass, it has the issues. If you are aware that there is the issues in terms of food versus fuel issues, where there is a dilemma whether you want to use the crops for food or you want to use the crop for fuel. Obviously, we need a food more than we need a fuel, right? So there is debates. There is a debate in terms of this first generation biomass is not suitable to be commercialized because it has the food versus fuel issues. Okay, when there is that particular issue, it contributes to higher food prices, and then it also have issues in terms of the land usage, and hence it provides a net energy negative, right? So with that particular issue, then they introduced the second generation biomass. So they said, okay, since the first generation biomass has issues, then we're going to use the second generation biomass. So the second generation biomass is basically produced from non-edible crops. Then you guys can avoid in terms of the food versus fuel issues. But in this second generation biomass, it has an issue in terms of harder to extract the required fuel. Okay, and then although it has a positive net energy, but in terms of the converting this biomass into a product, it requires higher cost because there is some compounds, for example, a lignin that we have in non-edible crops, it requires a harsh treatment to that particular biomass, then it leads to the higher cost in producing that energy. So then this second generation biofuel is not preferable. Okay, after the first and second generations biofuels, then they introduce third generation biofuel, which is algae. Okay, so I think everybody knows about algae, right? By now. Okay, so algae is basically just like a plant, but it's sort of like it considered as a plant as well as it considered as a microorganism as well, because it's a living thing. Okay, is what we can say that is a non-flowering photosynthetic organism. Photosynthetic because it undergo photosynthesis process. It ranging from microscopic phytoplankton to the macroscopic marine algae or seaweed. Okay, so for those who love sushi, so the one that you eat in your sushi, there is a green sheets that going to wrap your sushi. That basically nori. So that nori is basically we can consider as a macro algae. Okay, and then whereby when we talk about microalgae, the thing that you cannot see, you have to use microscopes to see those particular cells, right? Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit about microalgae and macroalgae. So algae are simple plants that range from microalgae to like seaweed, like I said, and then it can grow in any environment. As long as you have water in it. It can grow under brackish water, it can grow under seawater, as well as it can grow with the wastewater. So the wastewater nowadays become a very hot research in the microalgae because we want to reduce the cost to culture the algae. We use a wastewater as a nutrient source for the algae to grow. And then, like I said, it undergo the photosynthesis process. Like the other plants, it requires sunlight, it requires CO2, and it requires a nutrients, a food for them to consume in order to make sure that they are alive. And then it also can grow under without lights, under the dark conditions, under stress conditions. There is some advantage. Later on, I'm going to talk to you about that one. So why this algae become very interesting to many researchers? I think for the past 10 years, the research on the algae is boom because they are using this microalgae to produce fuel, to produce bioactive compounds, as well as to produce many other high value added products. Okay, so the reason being is, one, it can be grown on marginal lands, useless for ordinary crops. So it can grow with or without land. Okay, it's just like you culture, not like you culture. I mean, you have your fish in a tank. You can culture the algae, the same system like you you put your fish in the tank. As long as you have enough sunlight, you have enough carbon dioxide, as well as you put nutrients in it, then it can happily grow in. Or you can grow it on the land by having the photobioreactor installed on the land as well. You can do. You can hanging it in a plastic bag as well. So it's very flexible as long as you have enough sunlight and then enough nutrients to give to them. Okay, and then another factor that make the algae interesting is it has a higher yield per acre compared to the other biomass. Okay, so compared to the harvesting cycle, it requires only 10 days to get the biomass compared to the other plants. For example, if you plant your oil palm, for example, right? Oil palm. You have to wait for years to get the biomass. If you plant the corn, so there is some harvesting cycle, a month, like you have to wait. But for the microalgae, it only takes 10 days to produce a biomass, and then you can continuously culture it. Every 10 days, you get the biomass for the product development. Okay, and then another thing is it can be grown with minimal impact of fresh water. And then we know that nowadays the water shortage in certain countries is become critical. This algae, it doesn't require a fresh water to culture it. It can, like I said, it can use a marine water, salt water, or it can use a brackish water to culture the algae, so that we can reduce the impact of usage of this fresh water for our daily applications. Okay, it can be grown using a flue gas from power plant as a carbon dioxide source. So this is very interesting to the company. We have been working with our energy producer in Malaysia to install this microalgae system at their vicinity, so that rather than they release the carbon dioxide that coming out from their power stations, then they will channel that carbon dioxide or flue gas into the algae reactor. So that's a very, huge impact in terms of the greenhouse gas emission releases by the power producer company, right? So that's a very good project that you guys can also doing it at your country. Okay, it can convert a much higher fraction of biomass to oil other than conventional crop. Certain species of microalgae, it contain up to 50 to 60% of oil. If we compare with the soybean, it only contains 2 to 3% of the oil as well. So that gives a very interesting indicator that this biomass can offer a lot of potential product from it. Okay, so this is just a comparison between different crops with the algae. So even if you can see from this one on the palm, the oil content for 48 to 52% is a comparable with algae, but when we compare in terms of the oil yield, gallons per acre, so algae provide like around 10 times in terms of the oil yield compared to the other crops. Okay, okay. So it's good in terms of scalability. You can scale up the cultivation system up to the volume that you required. It's easy because it doesn't need, like I said, it doesn't need the arable land, a huge arable land to culture this microalgae. You can do it on the roof, you can do it on the land, you can hanging it or anywhere, as long as you have those photosynthesis punya elements, right? So in terms of the productivity, sustainability, as well as it's a fungible fuels, which is we can do some, what we call it as a genetically modified strains. For example, if you want that species contain a very high oil, so you can regulate their DNA and whatnot to boost up the compounds that you need. So that's what we call it as a fungible fuel. So you can tailor whatever the product that you want inside the cell. Okay, right. So this is basically the potential products that we can get from algae. Like I said, it undergo the photosynthesis process. It requires sunlight, CO2, and the nutrient. And then once you culture the algae for 10 days or 14 days, then you can get the biomass. So the biomass, there are three major compounds in algae. You will get the lipids, which is fat or oil. You can get the carbohydrates, as well as you can get the protein. Okay, so each of these compounds, there is a potential to produce many products. For example, if you go for the lipids content, which is oil fractions, you can produce the biofuel, which is biodiesel, or you can use, you can extract the polyunsaturated fatty acid. It contains the omega-3. Then you can get omega fatty acid, EPA or DHA, or you can produce the chemicals from that. You take the protein fractions, then you can get the essential as well as non-essential amino acid. That further you can apply as part of your antioxidant, as well as other pharmaceuticals products. And then you can convert it into feed for animals, or you can use the protein as a part of the food to human as well, right? And then if you have those carbohydrates, you can extract the sugars from this carbohydrate content and then producing the fuels, bioethanol. You can have a biohydrogen as well as you can have the biogas as well. So you can see there is many products that you can get from the microalgae cell. So this is the reason why people are very excited to discover or to do R&D on microalgae. Okay. Right. This is, I would like to highlight here in terms of the industry that are currently working that related to microalgae. We have 4 main industries here. We have pharmaceutical and biotechnology industry, as well as we have food industry, energy industry, and then feed industry. So this is the examples of the industry that utilize this microalgae biomass to produce a product. For example, in the pharmaceuticals or biotech industry, they produce a biopeptides, vaccine, as well as bioactive compounds. In the food, they took the carotenoid fatty acid polysaccharides to produce a food-based product. And then for biofuels, we have diesel, ethanol, hydrogen, as well as methanol. And then in the agriculture industry as well, they're producing the feed from microalgae that they formulate this microalgae feed to feed to the poultry, fish, as well as the shrimp. So if you can just go to Google and then you can type microalgae products, there is thousands of products that people have been selling online that based on this microalgae cell. Okay, and then from the industry that we have, it opens a lot of opportunities in terms of the sustainable jobs and then economy. Even there is many rural-based projects that they aim to develop the vulnerable communities. So you can Google it. Maybe there is some projects that you can implement at your area, just to get some ideas on the project. In Malaysia, we are working closely with a few organizations that we are currently planning to install this microalgae system at that particular community, so that the member of community can culture the algae, and then they can sell this biomass to the traders, so that they can get income for living in that particular area. So that's other things that we are currently doing. Okay, and then this is the examples of some of the products that we can get from microalgae. Like I said, we have 2 different types of algae. We have macroalgae and then we have microalgae. So this is the macroalgae. So macroalgae is basically the most popular one is it coming from Porphyra. Porphyra is basically when you dry it out, it produces this nori, and the nori is basically we use to wrap the sushi. Okay, so the second one is a Chondrus crispus, is a bronze algae. Normally we extract this carrageenan compounds from this Chondrus crispus, and then we use this carrageenan for the ice cream thickener. Okay, it's a safe ingredients to be used. It's more, I would say, organics rather than chemical-based carrageenans. Okay, and then the third one we have laminara. Laminara, we extract the alginate compounds in the laminara, and then in the laminara normally we use more towards on biomedical applications. For example, on the dental impressions or wound healing or something. Okay, so those are the 3 most popular macroalgae that people been used to produce a product. Okay, now I'm going to talk a bit about microalgae. So these are the products that normally, people make business of even. So I have 5 different species here. We have Hematococcus for astaxanthin. We have Chlorella and Spirulina for the protein products. We have Dunaliella as a beta carotene, and the Nanocaryopsis for APA and DHA products. So just to give you some ideas, if you really working on this particular area, you can be a billionaire, because this is the products that normally people consume, because there is a trend in the Asian countries. People nowadays tends to go for more natural products rather than chemical-based products. So the market booming since last 10 years about these natural products. Okay, so first we look at the Hematococcus. So this Hematococcus is basically, you can get a very good astaxanthin. Astaxanthin is basically a compound that have a reddish pigment inside this microalgae. So what we did is basically we extract these reddish pigments. It's basically carotenoids. If you're familiar, astaxanthin is basically a carotenoid. Normally, we get these carotenoids mostly in algae. If you don't have the algae, then you can get these carotenoids more in our seafood, like a salmon, lobster. So for this, we have the color of the reddish color. For the seafood that have that color, normally it has the reddish pigment, which is it contains carotenoids. So the good thing about carotenoids that you have, or astaxanthin that you have, is basically it has a very powerful in terms of antioxidant. Okay, so when you have the antioxidants, when you eat food that have antioxidants, then your skin, your eyes, and then your body become healthy. Okay, and then there is a report saying that this astaxanthin, if you take like 1 gram of the astaxanthin, it has like 800 times effect compared to the vitamin C. Okay, so and then it has, if I'm not mistaken, around 500 times better than if you take the green tea. So if you look at the selling price, it's a bit expensive. And then some of the company, they put it like, they put these carotenoids inside the cosmetics. So when you use the lotions, or when you use, your facial cleanser that have those particular pigments, it can give you a very beautiful skin, for example. Okay, so that's the compound that you can get from this Hematococcus. Okay, so and then like I said, if you want, the production cost is only $40 per kilogram, but the selling price is 10 times higher. That's why we call it as it's a good business to venture in. Okay, so the second one we look here is a spirulina. So I think maybe some of your family consume spirulina, right? Especially if you're coming from Korea, if you're coming from Japan. So they have been like consume this spirulina for the past like 50 years, because they believe that when you consume this spirulina, you have the energy, as well as you have, it's a good for your body, right? So this spirulina, the main active compounds that we have in this spirulina, we call it as a picosicin. So this picosicin, it has a very powerful in terms of the antioxidant, as well as anti-inflammatory properties in it. So that's the reason why people love to consume spirulina, and then they call it as a superfood. It contains a lot of ingredients, a lot of benefits like amino acids it has vitamin B, C, D, E. So it's very good for your body. So you can get it in the tablet form as well as in the powder form. I have in my house, like if you just drink a coffee, you just put like 1 tablespoon of spirulina powder in your coffee, then you drink together with that coffee. Yeah. So yeah. All right. So the third one is about nanocorrupsis. This is the most of the students that doing project under me, they're working with the nanocorrupsis species because this species, it contains high lipids, particularly on the polyunsaturated fatty acid that further we can convert that, we call it PUFA, into EPA and DHA. So normally you got the omega-3 from seafood, like from salmon, as well as from anchovies. So the reason why we need to take the EPA, DHA in our body, because some of the compounds of EPA and DHA, our body cannot generate by itself. So we have to take externally. Either we take it from our food, or we can take it from the tablets that contain omega-3, that normally coming from, like I said, salmon, fishes, and something. But the problem is people doesn't like to take omega-3 oil because of the smelly, because the fishy smelly that you have in the tablet make the people not really comfortable to consume this omega-3. So another options that you can get the omega-3 source is coming from microalgae, because this is the only plants, I would say, that have the omega-3 source for your body. Okay, so the good thing about EPA and DHA is basically it has been proven that it lowers the risk of the heart disease, or if you, it can reduce in terms of to get stroke as well. And then the good thing is, I think it has been reported that during this pandemic season, we have been like for 2 years already with this pandemic seasons. There is a study that people who are taking this EPA and DHA, I mean supplements, it can reduce the symptoms of hypertension as well as depression. Okay, so maybe you can consider to take it after this and then see whether it is works to your body or not. But I never tried it. No, I did. I've been consumed the omega-3 oils, but I haven't observed in terms of the level of depressions or I mean hypertension that I have during this pandemic. Maybe it's a good study that we can work together later on as well. And then I think DHA, if you have a kids, then if you look at your kids punya, I mean the milk powder, kan? It's normally is highlighted on, okay, this brand have the high DHA and whatnot. So basically that DHA is essential for the brain as well as for the eyes to develop the brains of your babies or your kids. So they need this compound DHA in order to develop their brain as well as their eye when they are grown up. Okay, so that's why we can get this EPA and DHA from microalgae as well. Okay, so if you see the production cost USD 25, and then selling price is very high, 120, and then it contains around 30 to 40% of the lipids in it. Okay. Okay. Oh, I exit the time already, or do I have more time?
About 10 minutes more,
okay.
Dr. Najib.
Okay, I speed up a bit. Okay, in terms of the chlorella, it's the same thing. Chlorella is a source of the pure protein. So it can balance your immune system. And then you can take it as well for if you have a problems in terms of weight loss. So there is a study saying that by taking this chlorella, you can control your weight as well. Okay, so Dunaliella is a source of beta carotene. So beta carotene normally you get from your vegetables, from carrots and whatnot, but you can as well get it from microalgae. It's a source of vitamin A, as well as it's good for your antioxidant as well. Okay. All right. So in terms of the world demand markets is booming year by year in terms of the products that coming from microalgae, especially like I said in the Asian region, people are very concerned about the food that they are taking into their body. So they have to make sure that it doesn't have any toxic effects and whatnot. So they are prefer to go for the natural based products. So algae is one of the options for them to take in. Okay, right. So in terms of the energy, there are few prototypes, I would say. It's not like a commercialized product yet, but there are few prototype. The key player normally coming from United States. They have been trying to run the vehicle, the hybrid vehicle, using the biodiesel that coming from microalgae, and then jet fuels from microalgae as well. They are producing it and then they are testing it, and then they've been testing it, the biodiesel blends in a Navy sector as well. So, but if you ask me whether they have a commercial products, I mean commercial energy that coming from algae in the market, I would say none. There is not in the commercial scale yet, but we are heading towards on commercializations on in terms of the renewable energy from microalgae. Okay, so this one just a quick brief to you guys about the process to get the product from microalgae, either active compounds as well as the alternative energy. It starts with the cultivations, and then once you culture the algae in a photobioreactor, then you get you need to dewater the algae, because 90% of that is basically water, and then 10% is the cell. So you need to remove the water out and then get the cell and then do the extraction, and then later on we do for the product development. So as a chemicals engineers, you need to work with all these sectors. Like we can design our photobioreactor, then we focus on the cultivations. You can design in terms of the dewatering technologies, in terms of the harvesting. You can focus on the extraction process, whether you want to use, I mean, the green solvent, the green technology and whatnot, and then you can formulate the product later on. So this one is just like photosynthesis process. You have the light, carbon, water, nutrients. As long as you have these 4 elements, then your algae will grow happily. Okay, so you can culture the algae. There are 2 systems: open system, which is in a pond, as well as in a lagoon, or you can do in terms of the closed cultivation system, where you're putting it in a closed system, which is in a reactor, photobioreactor, whether you can put it outside as well as indoor environment to your algae. It depends on your purpose, right? So in terms of the dewatering harvesting, we have many methods: flocculations, coagulations. We have what's that? We have centrifugations, filtrations, and whatnot. So it depends on the purpose of your company. Either you are looking at cheap or less energy consumptions, or you are using the high value products productions. It depends. And then this is the potentials of the renewable energy that we can produce. From this algae biomass, you can either process your biomass into biochemicals as well as thermochemical. For biochemicals, you can produce syngas, hydrogen, methane, or you can produce liquid fuel, ethanol, butanol, methanol, or you can gasify it or pyrolyze it to produce another bioenergy. So it's a lot of research going on for the past 10 years, and then people are still trying to prove that this microalgae is viable or it's possible to make it as a bioenergy. But in terms of microalgae biomass for high value added product, for pharmaceutical, for food, and for the other application, it has been established. So, but in terms of the bioenergy, it's something like we have to work more, do research more, so that we can prove that whether it is feasible or not to compete with our conventional fuel. Okay, so problem and challenges, just to highlight to you, in 2009, ExxonMobil, that the first company who are invested on this microalgae for bioenergy. They're looking on the diesel, so they've been invested like 600 million more to do research on the microalgae, but 5 years after that, they pull out from the project because they said, based on their study, this microalgae for bioenergy couldn't achieve commercial viability because the process to culture the algae is very expensive, but the latter process is very, I mean, it's an established one. But to make sure that you have a good biomass to produce a oil is very challenging. Okay, so so they have been like stop the research, and then they conclude that algae for bioenergy is not viable on that particular time lah. But after that, there is a few companies that embark on the microalgae for diesel, but still there is not much findings that we got so far. Okay, and then case number 2 is about producing astaxanthin from Haematococcus. This is company in US as well, by Fuji Chemical Industry. They culture it in Hawaii, but after a few years that they culture it, they shut down the plant because there is a problem in terms of the cultivation methods they are used. So the domes that they are using is basically having a very severe contaminations. So that's another issue, that the failure to prove that the algae can be used for at the commercial scale for the bioenergy. So this is the challenge that we have to bear when we work with the algae. There is a lot of research going on. They are trying to look at their polycultures, meaning that we're not culturing it as a single species. Like for example, if I want the Haematococcus, I should culture Haematococcus with other species. So that if this Haematococcus get contaminated, then I have a backup species in our system. So something like that. So they're looking on the polycultures, and then they're also looking on the genetic engineering in terms of to come up with a special strains for that specific applications. Okay, and then along that way, they also doing some research on the photobioreactor design. Their aim is only 2, which is cost-effective design photobioreactor. The second one is about low energy consumption. So there are 2 targets when we're designing this photobioreactor for the algae, so that at the end, it doesn't contribute much in terms of the total productions of the bioenergy that coming from algae. And then it should have the scale up easier, as well as you use a cheap materials. Okay, right. So this is the research that going on. It started with the bioprospecting. We are looking at what are the possibilities of the product that we can get from microalgae, and then we start with the engineering by designing the photobioreactor and something, and then looking on the breeding selections where we focusing on the genetically modified strain and whatnot. And then now our interest more towards on the co-product, which is not only energy, but it should be integrated with the other products that can coming along with the microalgae. Okay. So this is some of the projects that we've been doing with locally as well as international company. We are working closely with our main energy producer in Malaysia. Like I told in the earlier presentations that we use their CO2 that coming from their power stations, and then we channel into our microalgae system to get the biomass. Okay, this is the project that we doing it with them. Okay, so it's remain challenges to the microalgae research. Number one is reaching world scale productions. So the problems to produce mass productions of algae is still remain a challenge. How to make sure that you produce the algae in a cheap price compared to the other resources, and then economic viability with a few products. So at the moment, to be honest, during my PhD work, I produced bioethanol from microalgae, and then from our economic analysis, on that particular time, the cost to produce ethanol from algae is 30 times higher compared to the normal gasoline. So it's not viable until now, but there is a lot of research. Hopefully it can be proven soon. And then to achieve environmental sustainability, that's another core issue that we have to highlight when we embark into algae research. But nevertheless, I leave it you with this quote, like, for example, the use of vegetable oils as fuel might seem of no importance in our times, but in 1912, the use of vegetable oil as fuel is impossible. But now you can see we are using palm oil as part of the fuel, right? To run our vehicles as well as to run a few things. It will take some time. You cannot like get the answer within 10 years, maybe after 50 years, with a lot of research is about our thorough investigations about the algae and whatnot. Then maybe we never know after 50 years, the algae become one of the energy resources that can replace our conventional fuel, right? So just fingers crossed, just continue what we are doing, so that sooner or later it can be proved whether it is viable or not. Okay, so with that, I think that's all for my sharing. So yeah, I open for any discussions.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Harun, for a very interesting and comprehensive lecture. So for the students, I know that you already have tons of questions in your mind, so this is the right chance for you to discuss your questions with Dr. Razif. You may ask your question through the chat box in Zoom, or raise your hand and I will ask you directly to deliver your question to Dr. Razif. However, I encourage you to deliver your question directly because you can have more interaction with Dr. Harun. Okay, students, anyone who wants to ask questions? Okay, I see that there is a student who wants to ask question. Mr. Jonas Cristanto and Henry Susilo. Mr. Jonas Cristanto, I would like to welcome you first.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Laras and Mr. Razif, for the comprehensive presentation. But I want to ask you about something that about the scaling up of the microalga energy generation from microalga. As you have said before, the first step of utilizing the microalga is to dry the microalga. And you have said before that 90% of almost 90% of the microalga is water in the raw state of it. And one of the problem in utilizing raw biomass such like lignocellulosic biomass or even municipal solid waste in Indonesia, actually we have a problem with the drying process since to vaporize the water, it will need more it will need a lot of energy. And how do you solve that kind of problem to make this microalga energy generation from microalga to be more feasible and also will be more efficient? I think that's the first question.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Jonas. So when we talk about microalgae harvesting, where it required to be harvest the cell, which is it should be separate the cell with the water, right? But when we're looking at the single process, yes, we're going to use a lot of energy to dewater the cell from the medium. But there is many technology now that using, for example, in terms of the biomaterials that we use, that it doesn't require much energy in it. Like, for example, if you opt for bioflocculations or coagulations, it has lower energy compared to you use centrifugation or if you use filtration. So it's a lot of research going on, but to the best my knowledge is the best solutions to reduce the cost during the harvesting, we should apply the biochemical pathway rather than the physical pathway, right?
So
yeah.
So you prefer the biochemical route rather than the thermochemical route?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Because I asked you this question because I currently studying about the thermochemical conversion of lignocellulosic biomass, and one of the problem, as you have said before, is lignin. How to handle lignin in thermochemical process. And
but the problem is microalgae doesn't have lignin in it.
Yeah. And at the first place, at the beginning of your presentation, you have said before that the second generation biomass, or as you presented before, comprised of like straw or rice husk, and you said it was unpreferable rather than the microalga. And for me, since it's, I think we all have a place in this world, and maybe especially in landlocked country and also small country like Luxembourg and other, where they don't have an easy access to seawater and also a lot of land to culture the microalga. I think it will be more suitable. Yeah, it will be more challenging to apply the microalga, but in Indonesia or Malaysia it will be easier.
I do agree with you. It depends on the demographic, logistic that you have in that particular country. But you have to be reminded that in order to culture the algae, it doesn't need to be you need to have like saline water or something. You can use like a wastewater as well, which is I'm sure that each industry, they're producing the wastewater, right, based on their processing activities. So you can use that as well as a part of medium to culture the algae, because the wastewater can supply in terms of the nutrients to the microalgae to grow. So I think it's very flexible. Obviously, if you are looking at the lignocellulosic sources, you can do that. But yeah, there is no harm to do it. But as long as you know what are the products that you want it to be. I mean, obviously, you have to look on the waste characteristic that you have at that particular area. Okay? Our aim is basically to utilize as much as waste that we have at our facilities first. That's the reason, just to share with you, when I tried to pitch the project about microalgae in Malaysia, and then our ministry questions me about why don't you just work with the oil palm biomass rather than you go for the microalgae. The reasons being like this. Yes, you can do in terms of the biomass from the oil palm, but when we talk about algae, there is a huge environmental impact that this algae can offer. For example, in terms of carbon dioxide, right? Because the algae consume carbon dioxide. And then when it consumes carbon dioxide, then your carbon dioxide doesn't release to the environment. It has a positive effects to the environment. So this is the only resources that consume the carbon dioxide from the environments, and then it can produce a product whereby the other biomass release the carbon dioxide, not consume.
Okay.
Something like that lah. So you can pitch in terms of that as well.
Yeah, but you are talking about the biochemical
Mr.
route,
Jonas?
not the. Yeah.
Mr. Jonas, I'm sorry to interrupt your thoughtful discussion, but I think because the time is very limited,
Okay.
we are still.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hasif, and thank you, Mr.
Yeah, maybe you can still postpone if you still have time. You can ask Dr. Hasif in our question
you can
session.
Email me, or we can discuss later on. Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Jonas. Yeah. Okay, next, there are several questions. Okay, we are going to Mr. Henry Susilo. I will come in.
So thank you, Mr. Rajiv. I have several questions. First, you said that microalgae is a fungible fuel, which is really the yield is according to the genes, genetics, the DNA, and how sensitive it is with the DNA. If it is a really sensitive one, is there any pre-research of the genetics is needed for a better yield of the production? And the second one, is there any process difference for each type of microalgae, because each type of microalgae have a different content? And the third one, maybe this one is related from the previous question. Just now it is said that microalgae have no lignin, so it is still required a pre-treatment process in microalgae if it is needed. Is there any difference with the conventional biomass? Thank you.
Okay, it's very, I mean, I tried to grab your questions. The first one is about genetic, right? Genetic modified algae. All right, genetic modified algae has been established in the market. Like, for example, if you know that your company would like to get omega-3 oil from microalgae. So the biotechnologies will alter the DNA of this microalgae to boost up the lipids content in the microalgae. So that basically the normal procedure that they are doing in order to boost up the certain compounds that you want from the microalgae, genetically modified algae. But if you that genetically modified algae require extra care when you want to culture it, because it's not like a normal species that are very robust. This genetically modified algae is very fragile, and then it requires a specific conditions to grow them. So if you're looking for a very high value products, then it is worth to invest in this genetically modified algae. But if you're just looking for biodiesel or something, which is the product is very, the price to sell the product is not really impressive, then you should go for a normal algae, something like that. Okay. Okay. So the second questions, can you repeat that again? I can't understand about that.
Is there any difference about the processing of each kind of microalgae?
Kind processing of genetically modified and normal microalgae?
No,
or what?
because there are some kinds and types of microalgae that have presented like spirulina, dunale,
Okay,
and
all right.
Yeah.
Okay. In general, they're not much different because the difference comes with the sizes of the microalgae. If you're working with the nanocaryopsis, the size is very small compared to the other species. So, but the process to culture, to the water and whatnot is very similar. The difference is the compounds that contain inside those species is different. It's very, yeah. And then your third question is about pre-treatment process, right? Okay, so the pre-treatment process for the microalgae, it requires a pre-treatment process, but in a mild conditions. The reason why they require pre-treatment process because all those compounds is basically trapped inside the cell. So you need to release the compounds out from the cell. So you need to break the cell wall in order for you to get the compound out. So that's require a pre-treatment. You can either go for just boiling the microalgae at 90 degrees Celsius or something, or you can use a very diluted acid to break the cell wall so that you can get the compound out, or you can use a mechanical way like grinding or something. So that's some of the examples how do we treat the algae. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I see that there are still a lot of questions, Dr. Asif, but maybe because the time is very limited, I can only present one more question. However, Dr. Asif, I would like to ask you, do you mind if maybe the other questions are collected by the committee and later will be delivered to you by email or something? Do you mind
Yeah,
to do
sure,
something?
sure.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. So students, because the time is limited, I can only deliver one more question. So for those who haven't get any opportunity, I would like to ask you to deliver your questions to the chat, and I will ask the committee to record it, and later it can be sent to Dr. Asif. So the last questions will be from Mr. Maulana Zaki. I hope the question is not too long because the time is very strict. So the time is yours.
You are muted, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
Mr.
sorry. Okay. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Maulana Zaki from Semarang State University. My question is about alginate and the process of making it. The question is, what is the process of making alginate from seaweed and using it for food products and thickeners? That's all.
From what? From alginate?
Okay. Yes, alginate from seaweed. Seaweed from seaweed
Okay.
and using it for food products and thickeners.
Okay, all right. So you want to know the process, how?
Yes, the detailed process.
Okay,
step
the
of the
detailed process you can call me later. So the process is very simple. I just give you a very general overview about the process. So the first one, you need to culture the seaweed. Okay, you need to culture the seaweed. That seaweed is basically microalgae. Microalgae, normally we don't culture it. It is naturally produce it in the seaside. Okay, so once you got that, and then you have to dry it under the sun. Okay, so dry it under the sun, and then after that you have to grind it, and then you can do the extractions. Whether you go for a mechanical way, like in my research, I'm doing on the subcritical water extraction. So using a very high temperature, then at the end of the process, you get the compounds, okay? Or you can do chemical-based extractions, like you use alkali or acid-based solutions, and then you extract the compounds, and then later on you need to go for the downstream to purify the compounds until you get the crude alginates. So that's normally the process that we use to get the crude compounds. Yeah.
And how to utilize it for food, specified in food product and thickeners or called emulsifier.
Okay, in terms of the food formulations, I have no experience to produce that, because I'm not the food engineers or food technologists or whatnot. But I'm sure that there are few, rules or standard that you have to fulfill, because we have to think that this compound is basically for the human consumption. So there are a few standards that you have to fulfill to make sure that the ingredients that you use is safe to human consumptions. But I have no knowledge about formulations of the food, because it's not part of my work at the moment. Maybe I can share with you later if I have any information about that.
Thanks, sir. Enough. Thanks for the answer.
Okay, Dr. Rajaharum, thank you very much for your interesting and very intense discussion. However, as the time is up, I'm afraid that this is the end of our first session. And again, I would like to express my sincere gratitude for you, as you are already joining with us this afternoon. Maybe we hope that maybe one of the participants here can directly ask you, or maybe join you later in your lab in the future. So yeah. Again, Dr. Harum, thank you very much. Yeah, I do hope that, yeah, you're welcome. That we hope that you are always healthy and happy in this pandemic situation. Thank you very much, Dr. Harum.
All right, thank you all. Have a good day and stay safe, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you very much, Dr. Harum. Good afternoon. Okay, everyone, I hope that everybody's still awake. So as we already have a very serious session, now it's time for us to ease a little bit by doing some fun quizzes to refresh our knowledge that has been delivered by Dr. Razi. Okay, like previous days, the quiz will be performed through Slido. Maybe the committee can prepare the quiz now. Yeah, as before, you have to join the Slido first through this code. This is only a very short quiz, only takes for about 4 or 5 minutes. Any of you have difficulties in joining this? I have not yet. Okay, the first question. What do you know about microalgae? Yeah, you have already know so much about microalgae from Dr. Eko and Dr. Razi. So please make a brief explanations on what do you know about microalgae. There are still 0 answer apparently. Okay, microscopic photosynthetic simple plants. Yeah, Dr. Asif have already explained that. And yeah, there are so many unicellular photosynthetic microorganisms. Like microorganism or plant that can carry out photosynthesis, yeah. Non-flowering. Okay. Any of you who wants to explain the benefits maybe compared to other plants? It is small and can be found in abundantly in fresh water. Yeah. Also, they also present in salt water and other aquatic environment. Flexible. Yeah. Flexible in terms of what? Okay. Okay. So there are so many answers here. No cultivated land, flexible, can absorb CO2. Okay, can contain source of yeah. Okay, we can conclude that many of you has already understand and has a lot of knowledge about what is microalgae in general. Okay, as we now needs to proceed to our next schedule, maybe. I think the quiz is already up. Oh, okay, there is still one more question. Okay, where can you find microalgae around you? Maybe some of you live around the beach or maybe around a river. Maybe some of you has already found in your own house. Yeah, almost any aquatic environment is available for you to find microalgae. Oh, swimming pool maybe, yeah. In aquarium, yeah, of course. Especially if the aquarium is like has a very green colors. Fish pond, soils, pool, yeah, so many. Any dam area, maybe in the bathtub, freshwater, wastewater. Okay, one more question. Mention an advantage of microalgae utilization. Okay, alternative for fuels, renewable. Any other explanations maybe about other utilization besides, yeah, it can be used for cosmetics, pharmaceutical products, provides clean energy sources. Abundant, yeah. There are a lot of advantages, so yeah, abundant is the right words for microalgae utilization. Okay, I think that's enough for the question sessions in our first session. Okay, I am very aware that the committee will have something to ease the tensions of our discussions this afternoon. Okay, Yusril and Aletia, I will return this session to you. The times are yours.
Thank you, Mr. Laras. Now, students can do small stretches on their own or have some snacks and drinks or anything that can make students feel comfortable while waiting for another igniting class session to start.
Okay, right now, to boost ourselves up, shall we do some exercise? Okay, I and Uchil have an interesting challenge called Mini TikTok Challenge, so please turn on your camera before we play the game. The guide of the challenge will be explained after the video.
Okay, the guide of this challenge is very simple. There are only 2 steps. Step 1, stretch your arms forward like a wave, like this. And step 2, backtrack while rolling your hands, like this. Okay, repeat it 3 times. This time, I and Aletea will practice first, and then we will do it together. Okay. Now we will do it together. Okay. Thank you very much. I think that's enough for the exercise. I hope it helped freshen up ourselves again and bring more excitement.
Okay, right now we would like to return the lead to the moderator for the next class session.
Okay, thank you very much, Yusir and Alatia. Hello, everyone. We meet again, and I hope you all already get some refreshment through at the TikTok challenge before. Okay, I think Dr. Vincent is already with us, but before we continue to our next lecture, I would like to deliver some brief uh, introduction about Dr. Vincent's academic background. Dr. Vincentius Surya Kurnia Adi is assistant professor at National Chung Sing University. He received his bachelor degree for chemical engineering at Institut Teknologi Bandung. His master degree and PhD for chemical engineering were obtained from National Cheng Kung University. He has a first professional experiences as assistant professor at National Chung Sing University, chief strategy officer at paneltech.us.corp, general consultant at EKAI International Company Ltd, research associate at Imperial College of London, postdoctoral researchers at National Cheng Kung University, and process engineer at PT Arianto Darmawan. Okay, Dr. Vincent, are you already here with us?
Yeah, thank you for the introductions.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Vincent. How are you in this afternoon?
Very good. I was kind of scary when my camera cannot turn on, but now it's okay.
Yeah, I think the picture is clear and the voice is also good, Dr. Vincent.
All
So
right.
if you are already all set, I will welcome you and the times is yours, Dr. Vincent.
All right. So good afternoon, everybody. It's 3:30 p.m. in Taiwan right now, and it's a kind of a clear and sunny day today in Taiwan. Hopefully, it's sunny day too in your place. So first thing first, I would like to introduce the content of these talks. So it will be a very introductory ones, but I would like to add more interaction with you guys. So I guess first thing first, before the interaction can begin, we need to prepare. So if you have your laptops, I would like to bring you to our course websites. I guess you know the ELOC WAFERS summer course websites, and you can go there and find the materials for today, which is about heat exchangers and heat integration for the optimal process performance. So basically, we are talking of on saving energy. So if you go with this folder, you will find several materials that you can bring home. You can download it. There are several videos if you want to listen and watch a little more into the details of heat exchangers and heat integrations. But I would like to bring you to the that file, the handset.zip. So this is the small software that we can play today, and hopefully by having this kind of a hands-on introductions, you can get a little bit insights on how to design this kind of integration of heat exchangers. And first thing first, I would like to download the slide, the heat exchanger slides. And then secondly, you can download the handset zip files. So I would like to show you here. There's like you can extract that file into a folder. Basically, it will extract some installation files, and you will see a small exe file. This is the handset applications, roughly like 660 kilobytes. And when you open it, you will have the software ready for you to use. So I will wait for roughly 2 minutes, I would say, see if anybody can download it okay, and then run the interface as we can see here. So you will see that a blank white window with a file, worksheets, system, and help in your desktop. So yeah, 1 minute. Hopefully you can download it easily. See if you have any problem with the small software here.
Okay. Okay. Hope everyone will not have any trouble downloading the software.
Yeah,
As
hopefully
by
no
Dr.
problem
Vincent.
at all.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you
It's
can
very
download
interesting
it, then
software, I think.
well, it's a blank one. So, but wait a second. We'll see
Yeah.
why it's important for this training.
I'm very curious what will happen with this software, Dr. Vincent. I've
Yeah,
never
yeah,
tried
yeah.
it before. Okay, some of the
So
participants
it's
are
about
done.
time. Any problems? Done. Okay, done.
Done. Okay.
So let's wait for 5 done. Then we'll continue.
Okay, any of you who have already done, please let us know. So Dr. Vincent will be very sure to know that you have ready.
Okay, so I guess several, I don't know, here we only have 2 participants, Muhammad and Henry, nothing
Okay.
else.
Anyone, please type something. Done, doctor. Okay, 2 more.
All right, 2 more.
Or is it enough, doctor? Okay, done, sir. Okay, we need 1 more confirmation.
I read my, okay.
Yeah.
We have 5.
Check
Okay,
already.
so we'll
Okay.
continue about the software itself. So it is a software that is designed to make you being able to simply design a heat exchanger network. But before you are talking about heat exchanger network itself, we need to know more about the heat exchanger, the unit. I guess if you are in your undergrad studies, you will have it in your 2nd or 3rd year about these heat transfer equipment, the heat exchangers. But I would like to, I guess, explain a bit why we need to get in the understanding of these exchanges. So if you want to, if you have a hot and cold stream, different temperatures, then you can exchange heat between the higher temperature stream and with the colder temperature. So the basic of these exchangers will be very simple. You will talk about the conductions within the wall of the heat exchangers, and there's some convections, because if you talk about the say you have a pipe, and within that pipe you will have fluids or gas, but within that gas or fluids there will be some convection happening, and if you want to describe the heat transfer between those fluid within that pipe, then you can describe it with these convection equations. The Q equal to UA delta T. And there are also radiations. This is if you talk about the very high temperature, and this is happens in fired heaters when you use fire to, I guess, to heat something, whether oil or water, or if you have the boiler, and if you are boiling water, I guess, then you use fire and you boil the water, and there will be that heat exchanging process that we're having. And of course, in a pipe, in the tube itself, there will be the so-called parameters here, the constant, the number, the Nusselt number, and also the heat transfer coefficient right here, and it is described as this equation. So we don't talk into detail of these parameters, but I just want to let you know that these are important in heat transfer in a tube. So by having these, I guess, relations, then we will have these consequence of you when you increase the conductivity or heat capacity, then you will have these the heat transfer coefficient to be increased or decreased. So these are the effect of changing these values. And of course, in heat exchanger, you will transfer heat from another stream to the second stream, and between the hot stream and the cold stream, you will have that pipe, you will have that barrier between those streams, and this is the I guess configurations, and you can describe that heat transfer from the higher temperature to the lower temperature with these equations. So you can have this overall heat transfer coefficient U, and you can describe it as this value. So basically, you want to transfer from the higher temperature to a lower temperature. So heat is transferred from the hot stream to the cold streams, and between those I guess values, the high and cold temperature, then will be some profile here that is caused by the materials and also by the convections and the conduction process. And of course, in the tube itself, you can, I guess, use the geometry, and then you can arrange the equations with these methods, and then you can add some terms of fouling. So fouling means that if you have the tube to be operated like in a year, for 2 years or 3 years, and slowly it will build some kind of I guess fouls. So it will deposit on the surface of the pipes, and at sometimes that fouling will affect the ability of your tube to transfer heat from the inside to the outside, or from the outside to the inside. So the fouling, the dirty matter in the surface of this pipe will affect those performance. So in a basic case here, we can have this the so-called counter current heat transfer. So basically, you have the inner tube that is flowing from that, I guess that from left to right, and then you will have the another stream. I guess this is the TC will be the cold stream. So this is the inlet stream, and then it goes out to the outlet. So we can see that this is a counter current flow that we are having here. And then if you calculate the delta temperature, so the temperature between the cold temperature and the hot temperature, then you can calculate it as this delta TLM. This is a log mean temperature temperature difference with this equation. So yeah, so basically when you try to describe a heat transfer, you need to have the temperature difference, and then you can calculate how much heat that you can transfer. Depends on the transfer area and then the resistance of that transfer process. And so this is a very easy calculation that you can have. So in real exchangers by itself is not as ideal as this one. So if you talk about another heat exchanger, something like that, so you have the hot stream like going here and here, then but your cold stream is going with this flow that is zigzagging inside the heat exchanger, then the delta temperature here is kind of difficult to measure, but there will be a correction factor that we can have. So the delta temperature is not as the usual one, but we need to have that kind of a multiplication factor to the delta temperature. So we can have some kind of approximation to calculate the total duty, the total heat that can be transferred from these heat exchangers. So in heat exchangers, usually we use the so-called tubular heat exchangers. So we use pipes, we use tubes to exchange heat, and usually in process design we have that symbol. So this is a heat exchanger symbol. So this is the shell side of the stream, and then this is the tube side of the stream. So it's symbolized like that into these kind of very complex structure of heat exchanger. So the inlet of the stream for the tube side, so we will have tubings inside that exchangers, and then the shell sides, which is outside that exchangers, and then the inlet will goes here to the tubing, and because of that another head here, it will be I guess the flow will be redirected to another tubes, goes here, and then it goes out to that outlet of the tube sides. While for the shell sides, it will go here, and then it will go out to this another side of the shell. So we can see that this is not a practically counter current heat exchangers, but it's a kind of a mix between those I guess flow methods. Yeah. So we have the structure of the heat exchangers. We can see the figure here, and I guess you can get the understanding of if you have the several channel divider, something like that, then you can have like two pass of a tube side. So we have, this is your first pass, and then goes here, you have another divider, and then you go there, and this is your second pass, and this is the third pass, and this is your fourth pass of your tube. So you can have a 4 pass of tube sides and a single pass on the shell side. So only one pass like that, even though you have the so-called baffle. So baffle will try to help your flow to be redirected so that it can be I guess distributed in average into your heat exchangers. So heat exchanger itself, this is the shape of your an actual heat exchanger, is kind of big one, but you can see here, you can see the spacers. This is the divisors here that is introduced into that exchanger. So there are several tubes that goes in, probably in another side there, will go back to that side, and then you will have a 4 pass heat exchangers. And then the header of the heat exchanger will be something like that. So it depends on how big you want it to exchange heat. It all depends on the surface area that you may want to require for the heat exchanger design. So for the heat exchanger construction, you can see these are the pictures. So you can refer from the slides, but I would like to move quickly because of the time limitations. Also, you can have that U-tubes, baffle, tube sheet, something like that. But so for the heat exchanger design, if you want to exchange the unit itself, then you need to have this area, the pressure, thermal expansion, and etc. So these are the details that is required by the Thermal Exchanger Manufacturing Association, the TEMA manufacturers. So there are several types of the head. There are the front heads, something like this, and then there are the shell. This is in the middle of the heat exchangers, and then there are another the rear heads that you can see here. There's some limitation. There's some function of these different heads that you can find in the details if you find some heat exchanger design books. But I would like to point out that the heat exchanger itself, it can exchange so many fluids, so many gases. So you can have like this one, a feed preheater. It needs a low pressure, but in the tube side it has steam, and the shell side it's a naphtha. So you can see here it is a preheater, and we can see the hot stream is in the tube side in the as a steam, and then the naphtha flow, the naphtha stream is being heated by the steam. So why the the hot stream is inside in the tube itself, because when you have your hot stream inside the tube, then uh, the the hot stream, the surface itself will be a very effective one to radiate, to distribute heat along the surface of the tube. But if you do it in opposite way, where the the hot uh, the hot stream is outside, which is in the shell sides. So the hot stream will be the outside of the tube. Then the heat radiated, or the heat distributed from that outside stream will be not as effective, because it will be distributed to the ambient, to the outside of the heat exchanger itself. So it will be not as effective than if you introduce the hot stream in the tube sides. But it's all dependent on the requirement. But at least you have the idea of designing a heat exchanger and how you position your hot stream, whether it is in a tube side or in the shell side. It all depends. But there are some kind of requirement here, and depends of these conditions, then you can select the type of the heat exchangers that you may want to have. So these are the correction factors. I don't want to talk into detail, but at least this is the corrections where you try to adjust the actual temperature difference between the hot side and the cold side, and it depends of the geometry of your heat exchangers, and then you can calculate the correction factor with using these figures. And about the temperature cross, so as we can see, we want to have a hot stream to be exchanging heat to the cold stream. So we can see here, if the temperature of the heat exchanger here, the hot stream outlet temperature is lower than the cold temperature here, then we will have the so-called temperature cross. So basically, we cannot heat something at this temperature with these temperature. So we need to have a heat exchanger from higher temperature to the lower temperature. But it can happen, but it depends on your heat exchanger configurations. So there are some software that can simulate these things. You can design those things with the so-called Unisim. There are Aspen Hyasis, there are Aspen Plus, a lot of software that you can use, but these are the interface that you can have in a simulation software. And you can check for the profile of the heat exchanger, the temperature profile within that exchanger, and you can check if there's any temperature cross between those exchangers. And you can see that this is the inlet and outlet temperature of the hot stream, and this is the inlet and outlet temperature of the cold stream. So you can analyze the temperature profile and check if your heat exchanger is working as expected. And configuration within the heat exchanger, there's the tube pitch, something like that. So this is how you want to, I guess what I want to say here is depends on these arrangement. So this is a 90 degrees tube pitch. You can see that it is a 90 degrees arrangements, or you can have something like that. This is kind of a triangular kind of shape. I don't know, not triangular. This is a bit like a different arrangement of your tube arrangement. So these are the tube pitch that we are talking about. So how you arrange the position of your tubes will affect your efficiency of your heat exchanger. Yeah. So, and also we can have these baffle types and how you arrange the flow within the heat exchanger. So there are several kind of type of baffles, and these are actually can be seen in the actual heat exchanger here. So you can see here the baffles on how you design the baffles and how you space those baffles will also affect your geometry of your heat exchangers and how effective your heat exchanger is. Yeah, so you can have these reasons how to select the site selections, and there are several considerations. So you can check for the slides. And from the heat exchanger designs, there are some calculations that you may want to run. But what we want to see here is that there are some kind of approximation for the heat transfer coefficients. You can find the book here. You can find the chemical engineering design book from Tauler, and you can see the estimation of the heat transfer coefficients and also the volume factors and the pressure drop from the heat exchangers and etc. So the calculation here is tries to help you to calculate how much surface area that you need and how much tube that you want and what kind of heat exchangers type that you may need for this kind of problems. So for a compact heat exchanger, you can see that there are some kind of rather different style of heat exchangers, this kind of plate and frame exchangers. So you may want to have some understanding on these kind of heat exchangers and how the flow is directed between those plates and the plate and frame heat exchangers. There are some advantage and disadvantage, and the realistic plate and frame heat exchangers are really used in industry, and this kind of heat exchangers is also another effective way to exchange heat. And we also have this so-called welded plate heat exchangers. There are some advantages and disadvantages. So you can see that these are many different heat exchangers that you may want to have and want to design. So at this point, I would like to stop a brief for 5 minutes. If there are any question about details on heat exchangers, please let me know. Anyone? Any questions?
I think we will collect the questions at the end of the session, lecture session.
All right. Okay. So then we continue for the next slide. So we talk about the heat exchangers, the design, and some of the details on the heat exchangers. But that's one unit. So how, if you have a lot of streams, a lot of hot and cold stream in your plant, how you want to save energy from those streams. So basically, if you want to heat something, then you can use fire or you can use electricity to heat everything up to a desired temperature. But if you use pure electricity, then it will cost you a lot of money. If you use pure fire, then it's a lot of gasoline that you may want to use. So you may want to combine the available cold stream or the available hot stream in your chemical plant, and then try to integrate them as a whole. And then by having those arrangements, then you can save some money by integrating them. So you don't have, you can save the electricity cost and also the I guess the another expenses on heating or cooling down the streams. So the second one I would like to enter is the heat exchanger network. So this heat exchanger network will be our hands-on today. I don't know how to download it. Okay, so I have already downloaded. Yeah, so we talk about the second slides. This is the heat exchanger network that we are talking today. And this exchanger network is try to integrate your heat exchangers into a one whole configurations. And we talk about a design procedure, and we can use that software to play with these kind of things. So for the heat exchangers, we try to use a network of heat exchangers, and it will save money if you match the streams rather than purely heat those streams by your utilities. And usually if you use your design projects on the 4th year of your study, then you may want to use this kind of approach. And there's the rigorous methodology for integrate those heat exchangers. And we have these MUMNE, minimum utility, minimum number of exchangers methods. And although this is a very practical and simple one, it doesn't have to be very optimal economically, but at least you have some reference if you want to integrate your chemical plant. So to design these things, you need to first identify all of your streams, the temperatures, inlet and outlet temperature, I mean the expected temperatures from starting temperature or the final temperature you want to have. And also you need to have the MCP values, so the heat capacity values, and also the flow rates, and also the heat flows that is available for that kind of streams. And you may want to have this the so-called minimum approach temperature. As we can see in the first heat exchanger here, you have that temperature cross kind of idea, but what we want to have is, if you want to make it exchanging heat, then at least you need to have that minimum temperature difference, so that there are driving force between the hot stream and the cold stream to release those heat into the cold streams. And that minimum temperature will be roughly from 5 degrees to 20 degrees, but any position number will be valid. And you need to complete the temperature interval diagram, and you can use the software itself to complete these things. And you can use the cascade diagram that is also available within the software, and you can find the minimum hot utility and cold utility, and you can identify the so-called the pinch temperature. So I will explain why we can identify the pinch temperature and what it is, and we can compare the temperature entropy with this TQ diagram. So by having those analysis, then we can determine the minimum number of heat exchangers required above and below the pinch, and you can exchange this heat exchanger network. So we can start with these very simple example problems, and we can start our hands-on of these slides. Sorry. Yeah, so we have these example problems, and this is your handset software. So first thing first, what you want to do is try to create a new file. So you can follow me with these steps. So create a new files, and there are some units, the SI units or the US units. You can try with these SI units, which is a much more universal unit that we are used. And then when you press exit, then you go to please pay attention. This is a hot stream data. So what you want to do is to fill the form. Fill this form with that information. So after you identify your plan, so for example, here we have 4 streams. We can try to enter these information, and we can see here the stream 1 is start from 200 degrees and down to 120 degrees. So that stream are being cooled down. And because it is being cooled down, then it is a hot stream that is providing heat to the cold stream. And you can see, you can identify there are 2 hot streams and 2 cold streams. And the cold stream is being heated up to from 100 degrees to 170. So you can enter those values. For the hot stream data, I think I want to minimize that one. Yeah, so for the hot stream data, there are some information that you may want to enter. So first, the mass flow rate. So this is your m dot, but the information provided here is the MCP. So we can do a little bit of cheating. So what we can do is, all right, we can say we have a mass flow rate of 3 kilogram per hour, but the specific heat capacity is entered as 1. So it will be the kilogram per hour times the CP, and you will have this the value of that one. So you can enter temperature, the inner temperature 200, and the temperature out at 120. And this is the film heat transfer coefficient. So what I'm saying here that it doesn't really need to provide those things, but if you want to design a more detailed heat exchangers, then you can provide those values in a real approximation of the component of that stream. So say if it's water, then you can enter the film heat transfer coefficient for water. Or if it's oil, then what kind of oil it is, then you can enter those heat transfer coefficient accordingly. But I would like to assume that this is a stream that having the film heat transfer coefficient as 1. So that's kind of easy. So here we enter the hot stream, the second one. So I'm having 5 and 1, 140, and this is 100. The film heat transfer coefficient is also the same, so to make it simple. But after you have that hot stream data, you can go to the cold stream. So pay attention, this is hot stream only, so you need to go to the cold stream informations. And when you put the cold stream, if you enter it wrong, for example, here, this is our hot stream, but I enter it at 140 and 200, it will give you a complaint, but at least you can replace with the proper temperature and you can go to the cold stream easily. So it goes back to the cold stream data. I'm going to minimize it so that you can see everything. Yeah, so cold data 100. So see mass flow is 3 and 2. So I'm giving it 3 and 2. Specific heat as 1 and 1. 100, 170, 110, 190. Film heat as 1 and 1. So basically kind of simple. So when you return and when you have entered all the information, you can return to the hot streams. And these are the information that you have entered into the software. So you may try to calculate those values as I mentioned before. And you first try to choose the minimum burst temperature. It is 10 degrees. So you can go to the main menu, return to the main menu. And from the main menu, you don't see that value itself, but in the system, there are minimum DT approach here. So you can enter 10 for your data temperature. And by having those values, then you can go further. You can draw and label the temperature and everything, but you can directly create this temperature interval. So easily go to the worksheet, and this worksheet will give you the summary table. And you can see that summary table. I will make it larger. I don't know if I can do it. No, you cannot. Yeah, so you can scroll down and you can see the details right there. So you can see the hot stream data, the cold stream data, and you can see the cumulative hot stream energy available and the cold stream energy available. So what we are saying here is that you can identify your first cold hot stream data, and by cooling it down from 200 to 100, it will provide you a 240 kilowatts of heat to your cold stream. And for the other streams from 140 temperature, here it will give you a 200 kilowatts of energy to your cold stream. But for the cold stream itself, it needs 210 kilowatts to heat it up from 100 to 170, and it needs 160 kilowatts to heat it up from 110 and 190. So we have four streams. And how do you want to mix and match these streams to so that it can be entangled all together with your heat exchangers and saving you money rather than if you use I guess cooling water to take out this heat, or you use a electricity to heat up those values. So if you use pure money to do this by not combining all together, then you are I guess wasting some potential on saving those money. So the worksheet itself will give you the intervals, the pin temperature. It helps you to calculate those ones, and you can also see that there's requirements because by entangling those streams together, it may not able to satisfy every requirement, but you need to have some additional heating utility or cooling utility to your systems. So by having these informations, then you can go forward to the temperature interval diagram. So the temperature interval diagram is the TI diagram here. So the temperature diagram right there will show you that for the first stream, it goes down to 120. And you can see the interval, the temperature interval is starting from 200 right there. But in the cold stream, you pay attention that the cold stream goes to 190. So why we have 10 degrees difference from the hot stream and cold stream? So we want to expect that at that temperature interval, we have 10 degrees temperature difference at minimum. So by having these 200 Celsius of hot stream, it is able to exchange heat to your 190 degrees Celsius of cold stream. So from every interval here, it is able to exchange heat from that side to that side, or from that side to that side, from that side to that side. So it can exchange from everything equal or below that temperature interval. So from the high temperature to the low temperature, something like that. So having this temperature interval diagram, then we can go further to your cascade diagram. So the cascade diagram itself is based on your pinch temperature. So what I'm saying with this pinch temperature is when you cannot exchange heat anymore because the heat is already being used up by the interval above the pinch temperature. So what I'm saying is that if you go with the cascade diagram here, and you can compare it by side like that. So you can see here the A side, the A temperature here, it is available to exchange heat from that side to that side. So it can heat from 170 to 190, and it goes down to 180. But at the same time, it has an excess of energy at 20 kilowatts. And that excess energy can also be used to heat up your P interval like that. So here it can heat up that one and also that one for that interval. So because of the computation between the heat balance of these interval, then after the P interval here, the heat from that side cannot be used to heat up the interval below that region because it's already being used up by the cold utility, the cold stream right there. So we need to have additional hot utility to heat up the P interval, and it goes the same for the interval between the pinch temperature right there. So whether there's no non-continuity between the the intervals, there's no excess energy, then you will find your pinch interval. And by having those interval, the pinch temperature to be identified, then we can construct the so-called the composite temperature. So the composite temperature will be the TQ diagram right there. So you can see this is a composite diagram where the heat exchanger temperature will be drawn with the enthalpy, and then you can see that in the middle here is your pinch temperature, that you cannot transfer heat from the hot side to the cold side at this point. You can only transfer heat from that side to this region. So here is the limitation after the pinch temperature, and from the below the pinch temperature, you can only have the heat exchange to be from that side to that one. So basically that is the case here. And there are another example problem that you may want to follow from this slide, but what I want to point out here is that by following the step here, we can use the exchanger design. So you can try to compute heat exchangers above the pinch. So what I'm saying is that when you have the heat exchanger above the pinch right there, how you can put your where you can put your heat exchangers between those intervals. So what I'm saying here, you can see this is above the pinch. So above the pinch, it will be like 140 above. So you can only have 3 streams. You can have 3 streams right there, and you can arrange your design basically. So we can identify for the first stream. You can see that there are 180 kilowatts of heat that is available to heat up the stream 3 and 4. And you can start with this the lower one. So you can see that the stream 3 needs 120. So we have 180, but we can give stream 3 at 120. So what we can do here is press that stream, and you can see that the circle and goes to another circle right there. And then you can say that, okay, that stream and that stream will exchanging heat at 120 kilowatts. So you can see here that the stream 3 is already fulfilled by the hot stream right there. So it goes to 0 now. So you can identify, oh, we only, for the first stream, we only have 60 kilowatts left, but the fourth stream needs 120. So what I'm saying here that you can use up everything of these 60 kilowatts given to the fourth stream. So what I'm saying here, we can press that one and give it at 60, enter enthalpy, and you can see that the first stream, there is no heat available anymore to heat up your third and the fourth stream. So we don't have any heating opportunity to heat up the cold stream anymore. So that's why we need to have that utility exchanger right there. So we have this utility at 60 to heat up the rest of the fourth stream right there. So we can put that value here and then enter the same enthalpy at 60. And voila, you get your exchanger design above your pinch temperature. So you can do the same thing for the exchanger below the pinch. But what I'm saying here, you can, after you have those design, you can have this exchanger design report. You can report back how much exchanger you need, how much duty that it needs to be exchanged, the exchanger area, and this exchanger area is dependent on your first information about these overall heat transfer coefficients. So it doesn't really be correct if your heat transfer coefficient is not correct, but at least these are the approximation that you can have for the heat exchanger integration above the pinch. And after this above the pinch design, you can go back to your main menu, return to your main menu, and then where were the main menu? Oh, this one, this is the main menu. And you can go back to the design below pinch. The same thing happened, that you can use your analysis, check how many heat is available from the hot stream and how many heat is required from your cold stream. By checking this, you have 60 and 200, and the 3 and 4 needs 90 and 40. Okay, so if you want to make it simple, then you can try to exchange from the first stream to the third stream, for example. So I'm saying that we have 60. So first and the third stream, so we have 60. So we use up everything of the first stream and given to your third stream. But your third stream now is only have 30 kilowatts required to cool to heat it up. So we can draw that 30 from your second stream. So this is your second stream right there, giving to the third stream right there, enter enthalpy, and you can see that the enthalpy of your third stream is already used up. So your second stream left is 170, and you can go down to the fourth stream right there with the 40, the 40 kilowatts left. So you can try to give that energy to that stream right there with 40 enthalpy like that. So by having this, you can have those arrangement, but check, this is important, about the delta, the temperature cross. We are having a temperature cross problem right there. Why we have temperature cross? Because you can see for that exchanger, the third exchanger, we have, we have the inlet temperature at 126, but it is heated up to, sorry, we cannot see that one. I think the position is not correct. Let's start again. Let's start again with the same thing. So you can enter the enthalpy here, 60. So you are exchanging heat. So you can see the entering temperature 120 to 140. So it's used up everything, and this flow is 110 to 130. So you can see that the third stream is at 30. So if you try to exchange the second temperature here, for example, I'm using up all the temperature for the fourth stream at 40. Here you can see that the fourth stream is start from 110 to 130 like that. But because the temperature here is starting from 132, it is still possible to heat up from 100 degrees to 110 from that part. So you can see with you can see that one with 30 something like that. Yes. So by having these arrangement, you don't have the delta temperature violations, and the temperature itself is already okay. There's no temperature cross. And you can see that for the second stream here, it still requires 130 of cooling utilities. So you can add the utility exchangers for the second one. So you want to cool it down from 226 to 100. So we need to cool it down. So we need a cooling water So here our cooling water is coming in at 130 kilowatts right there. So you can see that these are the arrangement of our heat exchangers, and you go to the heat exchanger design report and check your exchanger design, something like that. So you can go to your return main menu. So you have the design above page and design below page. And by applying this kind of methods, you practically can have your chemical plant or your streams to be integrated, to be entangled all together with your heat exchangers that you just have designed just before. So the way you exchange these heat exchangers, you can check for how many I guess how many heat that is required or how many heat that can be provided from the hot and the cold streams. And by those calculations, you can check for the temperature violation, and then that's the basic of these simple heat exchanger and heat integrations. So by having these hands-on experience, hopefully everybody can have those basic understanding on how you want to integrate everything of your heat exchangers from the unit itself to the network in your chemical plant. So by having that, I would like to end my talk here, and I'm welcoming you any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Vincent, for your explanation. Maybe it's very interesting software because it can make our calculation on heat integration becomes more efficient. Maybe some of us still calculating it manually, and it will take very long time, and maybe it will reduce the accuracy of our calculation. So, any of you who wants to ask questions, I will welcome you. Oh, I see already two questions here. Okay, the first is from Mr. Muhammad Harits, because there is still a few questions. I welcome Mr. Muhammad Harit to ask directly to Dr. Vincent. Is Mr. Muhammad Harit here? Okay, I think maybe he's not. Okay, I will read the questions, Dr. Vincent. From Mr.
Oh, you mean
Muhammad
from
Harit.
the chat?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
What is...
He's asking about plate heat exchangers, right?
Yeah, what is your opinion on plate heat exchanger? Because mostly in my studies, in the articles, in books, they prone to use shell and tube heat exchangers. For me, plate HA is a bit difficult to calculation. Okay, Dr. Vincent.
Yeah, so I guess I would like to relate the plate heat exchangers in our pandemic situations currently. So that heat exchangers, the plate heat exchangers, are used mostly in air separation plant. So if you want to produce oxygen, you want to produce nitrogen, you want to produce argons, those exchangers are used in those kind of situations. Why? Because it requires a low temperature below 100 degrees Celsius, or minus 100 degrees Celsius. And because of that very cold situation, if you use the shell and tube heat exchangers, it is kind of difficult because of that limitations. And you can check easily. I would like to share my screen again. You can try to find online, I guess, the so-called air separation plant. And these air separation plant, there are several figures that you can see, but you may want to check for the for that size. This one. I cannot give you any better. I'm sorry. can it give you a clearer visions? Yeah, so you can see right there, this is a very typical air separation plant, and they use these plate heat exchangers at this point, try to exchange heat from many streams at the same unit. So the best thing with this plate heat exchangers, you can introduce many streams that can exchange at one point at the same time. And because of these many streams that is introduced to these plate heat exchangers, it is easy to construct, rather than if you use these the only shell and tube heat exchanger, because for shell and tube heat exchangers, you can only have 2 streams for one heat exchangers. But for this one, you can have multi-streams into a single unit. And it is very useful in an air separation plant. And in this pandemic situation, we need a lot of oxygen, and these are coming out from those heat exchangers. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Doctor.
Yes.
Okay. Can I continue?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
sure,
please.
sure.
Okay. So, Doctor, from what I understand, so the plate heat exchanger is more to specific process.
Yeah.
So, so for general use, we usually use shell and tube. Is that right?
Yes. To make it is a situational kind of design. So there are some kind of a niche for this kind of heat exchangers. There's some kind of a operational condition that is fit for this kind of heat exchanger, but not for the other one. So you need to really careful with these condition of your operations.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, Dr. Vincent.
Yeah. Second thing
I'm
is.
sorry, I have internet connection. Okay, I see there is Mr. Uche who raised his hand. Okay, Mr. Uche.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Doc, for your explanation on the solver. So please, I would just want to ask, can you provide a guide or steps on how to use the solver? Because you're quite a little bit fast and I missed out on some details.
Oh,
so
no,
just a step.
don't worry. From the download sites, from the analog websites that you just download the software, you can see there are some videos above those files. So I would like to point you out to my screen again. Go to the analog websites. I don't know what happened with the platform. If you can access the website, you will find the WMV videos. There are 5 videos that is explaining how to use it. So you can follow it step by step. And I provide the self-exercise files that you can follow. And you can use those resources to get it done by yourself.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor.
Okay, Dr. Vincent. Maybe as we are also waiting for another questions, I saw some technical questions regarding the software again, Doctor, in the chat.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened with the software, but I downloaded the software from the website directly, and in my computer it runs without any problem. You need to first extract it out, and after you extract that files, and you run the Hansat, the Hansat file, and then I guess you're good to go.
Okay, I think someone is already trying to give the solution.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions, maybe? To Dr. Vincent?
Or
Everyone?
maybe you can right click and then you can run as administrator. Try to do so, but I'm not sure if it's working, but hopefully it will be helpful.
Okay. Any questions from students again? Okay, one question from Mr. Henry Susilo. Please, Mr. Henry Susilo.
Thank you, doctor. So I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it possible if we are using a normal cooler or heater is more advantageous than using the heat exchanger? Is that a possible situation that could be happen? Thank you.
Well, it may be happen when there is no possible way to exchange your there's no way to exchange heat from your hot stream and your cold stream because one, maybe the distance, your hot stream is too far away from your cold stream, then you may as well use a independent heater or coolers. Or if although maybe the distance is far, but if you use a piping situations kind of thing, you want to direct those cold stream or hot stream into one locations, and that may costly for you. So it depends on the trade-off between your economic benefits and the saving that you can have by exchanging those heat. So basically, you are adding more exchangers, but you need to consider whether adding that exchangers will save you money, or even worse, it requires you more money. So in chemical engineering, what we need to say is that financial benefit is the utmost important. You will need to save money. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Henry. Any other questions from the students? Oh, there is a question in chat room, doctor.
Yeah, it is possible to exchange heat fluids of different viscosity. It is possible because what we are talking is here is a separate compartment. So we have the very viscous fluid to a very non-viscous fluid. Still, you can have that exchange, and because it is not mixed together, and then it all depends on your heat constants, heat transfer coefficients, and that's the most important thing in your heat exchanger design.
Okay, thank you very much, doctor, for your answers. Okay, we still have time. For those who still have questions in mind, this is the right time for you to discuss it with Dr. Vincent.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, I'm Gabriel. My question is with respect to the simulation
I would like to say sorry first. Your sound is not clear. Maybe you'd better to type it so that we can receive your message clearly.
Can you hear me clearly now? Can you hear me clear now?
Yeah, it's a bit much more clearer now. Yeah.
Okay. In design, most times you get actual data, maybe laboratory data that you use to carry out the risk-free analysis that tends to give you something similar to real life blood.
I'm sorry again. I guess maybe my poor English or maybe the signal is not so good. I guess it's better if you want to type it down, because maybe the signal is because it's so I guess so rough to listen to the sound. Yes. Sorry for that.
Okay, doctor, maybe we have to wait for students to type the questions. Okay, doctor, while we are waiting for the question, I would like to discuss you a little bit, doctor. Maybe some of us wonder, if we add some heat integration in our system, is it possible that it will increase the capital cost? Because maybe if we perform heat integration, the piping system will be becoming more complex, and it will. Is it possible to have situation like that, Doctor?
It is the consequence by integrating things. It's like you and your girlfriend. When you integrate, you add more complexity rather than living in single life like that. But it will also increase your control problems, increase your capitals. But what I want to tell you is that there's a trade-off between the increase of the capital cost, the increase of the operational cost, and if you can save a lot of money from your heating utility or the cooling utilities, and if it's the saving is larger than these costs, then you may as well try to use it. So it's just a trade-off between those two.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. Yeah. Okay, previously. Okay, Mr. Gabriel Aremu is already typed.
Determining the assay data. I don't quite understand with this assay data. What do you mean with that?
Okay,
if it's,
Mr. Gabriel, could you provide more information?
If it's only the stream data, yes. You need to first analyze your stream that is available in your chemical plant. So how much you can have your hot streams, your cold streams, and everything. I can show you a simple, I guess, a very complex one of fluid with impurity in the, or we need to purify or filter it beforehand. If you talk about these fluid with impurities, solids in the heat exchangers, what I can suggest you is that it's all dependent on your settling velocity. You can imagine that if you have a tube, and then if the fluid velocity is fast enough, then your solid will not be settled along the tubes. So the velocity of your fluid should be adequate so that there will be no build-up of the solids along your pipelines. So in pipe calculations or tubing calculation, you can calculate those velocity. And by having those velocities, then you can see the volumetric flow rates of your tubes, the tube size. So by designing your heat exchangers, you need to design the tube size, the tube length, and everything. And by considering those velocities, the settling velocities, then you may still be able to use these solids impurities within the heat exchangers as long as the velocity is fast enough so that the solids will not build up into your tubings. And about the what was it? The data, assay data that you want to have. I would like to share another screen again. Here I'm having a very simple Aspen Plus simulations. I can use, for example, an example, ethylene glycol, say, for this one. For this ethylene glycol, you will have a lot of hot streams, cold streams all together all over the plant like that one. So here there's a hot stream, cold stream, and everything. And you need to identify everything from these flow sheets. And in Aspen Plus, for example, you can use the so-called the energy analysis toolbox, for example, here. So what I'm saying here, it tries to identify all the streams that is available in your flow sheets. And from those data, it gives you the energy streams, the utility temperature and everything. So if you activate it like that, and you will identify all the information that you may need in your data interval like that. So let's wait for a moment. You will see those values. You can see the inlet and outlet temperatures and those things, and you can fill it down to these tables, practically the same things. So bear in mind. So please wait for a bit because this requires some time for calculations. Anyway, you can ask other questions first while waiting this computation. Kind of slow.
Any students who are still asking questions? We still have maybe one more questions, if any. Okay, Dr. Wire, we are waiting. I would like to discuss something, okay?
Yeah, please.
Maybe there are many things that can affect the performance of heat exchangers. So in your experience, maybe what is the most influential factors that may reduce the performance of heat exchangers? Oh, the result is coming up.
Yes, we can see the results. Yeah, so what I'm saying here is like, these are the heaters that are available in your streams. You can see the duties and everything, how much you can recover from it, or the potential. So Aspen Plus also have that example. But if you need to make it simple with those small software, you can use the handset for your calculation, simple one. But if you want if you have a very complicated flow sheet like this, then you may as well use the Aspen Plus to do the same thing. And as you say, as you ask that, what kind of reason when the heat exchanger may reduce the performance? There are so many things. I'm not sure I can answer it correctly, but fouling is one of the things. Second is incorrect design. So if you don't design it correctly, then you may as well having these control problems and also operational problems. Yeah, I think those two. So foulings and also incorrect design. If you have a proper design of heat exchanger, it can long lasting. It can last long as you want, because all the uncertainties are being considered. But if it's easy to be broken, or easy because of wrong design strategy, then although it kind of cheap for that exchanger, then you may need to replace like each year or 2 years once in the 2 year. But if it's a very good design, maybe a very expensive design one, but it can last long, as long as the plant can operate.
Okay, Doctor. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, we still have one last question here from Mrs. Omisa City. Which software provides better process data between Aspen Plus or HENSAD? Last question.
Process data. Any software can give you process data, but the most important is the physical model, the thermodynamic model, and how you describe the components, the streams of your process. So if you have a bad thermodynamic data or bad physical data, or physical model, I'm sorry, not data, the physical model, then you cannot, I guess, you cannot describe the behavior of that component for all the range of the temperature and pressure. And by having those poor descriptions, poor behavior of your model, then it gives you bad process data. So Aspen Plus kind of good. Aspen HYSYS is also, but it's all dependent on your thermodynamic model, whether it's NRTL or you can have, I can show you the case here with my sharing screen. So for example, in Aspen Plus, you will see the properties for your physical property model. So you can have this the CPA. All of these model has its own limitation. I mean the operational limitation. So if you select these methods as accurate as possible, then you'll be safe. But if it's inaccurate, all your process data, all the values of your temperature, pressure, something like that, the temperature pressure here will be wrong. So you don't get anything from it. So as close as possible to get the model into the with the realistic operations. I guess that does.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Vincent, for your discussion and explanation. However, I'm afraid that because the time is very limited, it is the end of our session today, Doctor. And I would like to express my sincere gratitude for you as you are already joining us this afternoon, Doctor. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the time. Have a good time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doctor. I hope that we can meet again someday, or maybe some of the students can join your lab maybe one day.
No worries.
Okay, again, thank you very much. Bye-bye. Yeah, see you. Please be healthy and safe. Thank you very much. Okay, students, as we are already ending these last lectures, we proceed to next quiz. Maybe it's very short because, yeah, again, the time is very strict. Okay, maybe the committee can prepare our sliding. Okay, we will ease and refresh a little bit about what Dr. Vincent has explained in these small quizzes. Okay, the first question is, what is heat integration? Maybe the definition can be so many things, but you can define with your own words in a very brief sentence. Okay, let me check the time for this. I hope any of you still be here with us. Here. Okay, still no answer. Maybe the students are still connecting with the Slido. Okay, still no answer. Okay, finally. Any circuit that generates the heat exchanger to improve energy efficiency. Yeah, both answers are correct. Combined refrigeration temperature of fluids. Yeah. Heat integration is the form of which heat flows from the one to the. Yeah, basically, heat integration is like the way or methods to improve the energy efficiency of our chemical plant through utilization the hot and cold streams, special emphasize on the efficient use of energy. Okay, thank you very much for your participation. Can we go to second question? Why is the heat integration important? Yeah, I have asked that previously to Dr. Vincent. To increase energy efficiency, okay, to save energy and cost. That is also correct. Any other opinion? Okay, there are so many correct answers. It indicates that many of the participants are getting the knowledge from the people's realm of unassociated utility fields. Yeah, that is very correct answer also. Okay, so many answers here. Is there any still questions in this slider? Oh, I think it's enough. Okay, we can close the Slido. As our discussion comes to an end, I would like to give some summary before we close this discussion session. As we are already studied first about the micro-LT utilization from Dr. Azif and then heat integration from Dr. Vincent, there are several things that I would like to emphasize for all of the students. The first is that renewable energy is very important as we are now facing energy security and an environmental problem. And one of the most promising renewable energy is biomass. The biomass renewable energy itself is very promising due to several factors, including its affordability, reliability, clean nature, and its availability. And one of the most promising biomass is microalgae. Microalgae as one of third generation biomass utilizes sunlight to proceed photosynthesis, and it has many advantages compared to other plants in terms of productivity, valuable content, and economic value. And for the second session, the points that I would like to emphasize is that heat exchanger has a very important role in performing energy efficiency in our plants through heat integration. And the second is that heat exchanger network can be performed by MUMNE method to perform heat integration in order to save and increase the efficiency of our energy utilization in our plant. Okay, I think that's enough for our discussion today. As a moderator, I would like to thank to all of the speakers and students, and I would like to also apologize if there are any mistakes or any wrongdoings that occurs during our discussion this afternoon. Okay, thank you very much. I hope we can meet again in the next opportunity. Yusril and Alatia, the times are yours. Thank you very much.
Okay, now our event has come to an end. Us as MC would like to thank our speaker today, Dr. Razif Harun and Dr. Prisetius Surya Kurnia Adi for the great material, and of course our moderator, Mr. Laras Prasakti, who has led this discussion, as well as all students who have attended today's session until the end.
Now, we are heading to photo session. To the staff in charge, please help us do the countdown and take pictures. Show your best smile.
Okay, I will count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, that's it for the photo session. Once again, thank you to all the students that have participated for today's class until the end.
The next class for WAFERS summer course will be on Wednesday, 28 July 2021, and we will talk about wastewater treatment.
We also would like to remind all of the students to contact their buddies for discussing work groups.
Thanks to all the students who have spent their precious time with us. We apologize for any mistakes made throughout the event today. Have a nice day, and students are now allowed to leave the Zoom meeting. Bye.
Bye.
I ain't proud of. I wish I could take back. Never meant to make you hurt like that, no. For a while it was perfect. Made my world stand still. Always something about you, always.